Hello, handy viewers, such as you are. This was the thing I was doing, wasn't it? Yeah, and then time passed and I got distracted by other things. Ooh, shiny. So, Miasma, I shall return to my previews of the Ratcatchers Guild. You don't such so much previews now, more as reviews, because they're out and you've got them and you've probably played games. Anyway, Miasma, I'm going to cut out a bit where I talk about the model, because you've probably all got the model, or if you've not got the model, you know someone that's got the model, or you can just look at the model in a shop. I like the model. Do you like the model? Now, in my Scourge video, I spent a lot of time, or some time rather, talking about I had concerns with regards to his low defense and the disease condition and what that would do in terms of range, knockdowns and things along those lines. And I wanted to see some kind of synergy between him and somebody else on the pitch. And in Miasma, we have that, which is fantastic. But let me go through the card first of all. I'll go through quickly because, you know, you've all seen it and are quite familiar by now. The big things that's standing out are the melee zone of 2, a reasonable kick of 3.6, a average speed of 5.7, tack 5. Quite a nice playbook, particularly with the playbook symbol on 2 and a momentous playbook symbol on 4. But certainly, the big thing that stands out to me is the character plays on the front of this card. We've got Ratcatcher for a cost of 2. It is not once per turn. It is not sustained. It's a 6-inch range, 3-inch AoE that does a huge 3 damage and the disease condition. Now, that is a fair old chunk of change to start throwing out, particularly once you can jog for 5 for free. So that gives you quite a broad reach of being able to distribute disease in groups for a pretty standard investment. Perhaps more importantly, the ones that I really like is Erupting Spores, which is once per turn. So it's either going to be 2 influence or the playbook symbol either on the 2 or on the 4 in the playbook, which will... It's the dilemma mechanic for my Miasma, that, within this 2-inch pulse, either the enemy chooses to take 2 damage and poison and 2 damage and bleed. Now, if they're in a 2-inch pulse, that means because of the disease condition that she has, they're probably, unless repositioning happens, going to be taking disease as well. So clearing those poisons, clearing those bleeds, isn't going to be simple without your Hemlocks, your the Veteran Harmonies of the world, Burnish, some kind of influence costing condition removal rather than momentum costing influence removal. So that's a really nice play for me to see. Defense of 4-0 is in keeping with the rest of the guild. There's very little armor outside of Veteran Graves, but 16 health keeps her nice and healthy. I don't think it's a great playbook outside of the character plays, if I'm fairly honest. I think the 1-on-1 and the 3-on-5 are largely immaterial. Momentous 2-on-3 is nice, but she doesn't have a great deal of counterattack. A momentous push on 1 or a double push on 4 is nice, but we're only tack 5. She's not going to be hitting that a great deal. Tackle on 3, to me, largely puts that tackle category purely in the realms of dice spikes and of parting blows, which isn't unreasonable with a melee zone of 2. But the character, the playbook for me principally sings the Radicalism and the Erupting Spores. So over onto the back of a card. 2 things quickly very cover. Carrier, 1, she has the disease condition just like Scourge. So of course this means there is a maintenance phase at the beginning of turn 1. If there wasn't, you wouldn't have influence. So that means both Miasma and Scourge will take 1 damage as soon as the first turn happens. I see a few people that this has been a surprise to. Only really Catalyst with his burning has been an example of this in the past. So do remember, if you're using these guys, Scourge and Miasma, as soon as you start, they take 1 damage each, which means Minx can use damage target and things like that, and so can Graves to get long distance charges in on them. But there we go. Virulent Strain, really like this. So if you have the disease condition within a 6-inch aura of her, you're at -1 tack. That doesn't make her a tar pit by any stretch of the imagination, but it does change people's maths, and that can be a huge, huge difference to strikers, to initial character plays. Consider, of course, Lone Striker, meaning the first character to activate is already at -1 tack, so suddenly they're down to -2 tack. That can hugely change people's plans. And if nothing else, I can see people putting additional influence on characters to get things done when perhaps 1 or 2 might have gotten things done in the past. The one thing that I really wanted to see, as I mentioned in my Scourge video, was some way of mitigating the disease within your own team, and Salve does exactly that. A free use of Come On Mate is exactly what this team needed to shift the disease condition and other conditions from your own players without the use of momentum. Now, Scourge for me is the obvious target for that, but do consider, if you remove disease from him, that means his damage output will go down. Admittedly only down by 1, but seeing as that is one of the few access points to a damage buff in Guild, that could be quite considerable. So there we are, the Ratcatchers have their very own Murder Granny. I like her a lot. I think she seems a pretty key piece to me. Although I freely admit, Ratcatchers, not really my jam. I love the shenanigans, but they are perhaps not my shenanigans, but I'll return to that, perhaps in my Piper video when I get around to doing that. How have you found Miasma? Do leave me some comments below in the doobly-doo. What has immediately turned out to be previews has become reviews, so I'd love to know how you guys have been using her. So you should be seeing on screen right now a beard. Should you wish to be subscribing, please to be having a click. Equally, there are links to playlists scattered about your screen. Maybe you want to know more about blacksmiths, or maybe you want to have a look at Godbeard, or perhaps you just want to not touch the beard and see how I video, document, and then talk nonsense over the top of games of Guild Ball. Until next time, handy viewers such as you are, I need a better outro.